Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about In Search of Memory by Eric K. Kandel. I know I'm not talking about my usual cancer book today, but I think the Emperor of All Maladies can wait until next week because I decided to read this book too. So anyways, today we're going to be talking about like a little bit on the first bit of Eric Kandel's book, which actually he decides to start off with like explaining a little bit about memory, how the many memories that we had since we're little up to now actually defines who we are as a person. We are ourselves based on those memories, and if we weren't to have any of those memories at all, we would just be people who aren't really people at all, for a lack of a better phrase. And anyways, to actually give us an example of it, Kandel actually takes the time to talk a bit about his personal history as he lived as a kid in Austria, in Vienna, where FYI, Hitler was born there. But I'll talk about Hitler later. Right now we're focusing on Kandel himself. He's born to a family. That his father made toys, and he had an older brother named Ludwig, who was basically, of course, his intellectual superior. And Kandel had a bit of a good childhood living in Vienna. It was rather peaceful. And also, here's a note that he's also Jewish, so of course eventually, there'll be a point where things turn sour, obviously later in history, but right now it's fine. But then soon, Austria's president died, and a successor who continued on the work of his former's swatting away of Austrian Nazis, pushed even further, banning all parties, even the Nazi group. And at the time, guess who brought whose attention? Hitler's. Apparently he saw this as like, oh, okay, since you're my home country, I'm gonna give you a chance. Let go of the Austrian Nazis, and then we might be able to consider a truce. Of course, the president at the time was quite skeptical of that, and decided not to do anything until Hitler pushed the pressure up so high until he finally decided to give in and release the Austrian Nazis. And those were pretty bad times for Kandel's childhood, and to make it even worse, Hitler demanded that Austria surrender to Germany, or else they'll be invaded. So the president, who was at his wit's end, decided to make one very bold decision. Before he does any of that, he decided to put up a poll for the people to vote on would they prefer Austria to be free or not. Unfortunately, the poll outraged Hitler, and then he demanded that the poll stopped, and the president resigned. Eventually, he did do this, but Austria got invaded anyway. Though, when the Nazis arrived in Austria, instead of meeting an angry mob of Austrian people, they actually are surprisingly welcomed by the Austrians themselves, waving the Nazi flags and welcoming Hitler warmly. And thus Austria soon was assimilated to Germany. And then for over the next few months in Kandel's time, the Nazis wrecked everything. They took stuff from the Jewish, sent the Jewish home from their jobs, and by that I mean like they took their jobs and ransacked their homes, especially on Kristallnacht, where in Vienna, Kristallnacht was extremely violent. To which the Nazi hunter, a Nazi hunter recalled that the Kristallnacht in Berlin to Vienna was more of like a Christmas festival, while in Vienna it's more like a massacre. And while it was some Jewish families did manage to survive due to being sent to other families' homes, which fortunately was the case for Kandel's family. But then, because it was getting violent, his whole family decided, well, move to the U.S. Though it was a bit of a tricky maneuver, since well, this is the time that Nazis were still considering, well, Jews leaving. That's when they still considered that, and they did not consider like keeping the Jews and then killing them off. Thankfully. So first, Eric's mom's parents went first, and then him and Ludwig, and then finally his parents last. His parents actually were delayed a bit because his father was arrested, but what probably saved them from like being killed was the fact that he had a ticket to go to the U.S., which was a bit of a stroke of luck, thankfully. And funny enough, the parents arrived in the U.S. 3 days before World War II began, and they were lucky enough because the U.S. was going full isolationist mode at the moment. Like they wanted to avoid the war at all costs, like meddling with European affairs. So that was pretty lucky for Eric and his family. Eric himself soon went on to go to like a 12-week school, in which by the end of it he was able to speak English fluently, which he wasn't able to before. And then after that he decided to go to a Jewish school because he felt like going to regular school made him a bit of an outcast. But eventually he had to face that because that Jewish school didn't have grades for high schoolers. So he eventually landed in Erasmus Hall High School, where he then applied to go to Harvard. And even though he already applied for Brooklyn University, his father was against going to Harvard due to the fact that paying for another application was like expensive for them. His teacher, who recommended him to go to Harvard, however, saw this and decided to pay for it himself, because Eric was an athlete and a scholar there. So yeah. And then after which he decided to study a bit of European history for a bit, and that's going to be where I end my reading. Thank you very much.